All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Oval Series back tonight after our break. So, Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we are here tonight at Worldwide Technology Raceway, or as pretty much I think anybody else would, other than the people sponsoring the track, Gateway. So, happy to have Mr. Andrew Wood back in the booth with me. Yeah, Andrew, say a little bit of a break off after our four races. I think we'll see how this one goes. This is definitely our first kind of a shorter track, if you will, after our starting of Homestead, Kansas, Michigan, and Atlanta. So this one's definitely going to bring an added challenge, I feel like, to the field.
Yeah, Gateway is one of those tracks that it's a short oval, but it races kind of like a medium oval where you have high speeds, mostly in turn 3 and 4, but turn 1 and 2, you really have to go on the brakes there to maneuver your way through the corner. It's got some weird sort of banking to it as well, so cars can take multiple lines through there, and you're going to see that a lot tonight as well. And, it's one of those tracks where we talk about the roll bars and the weight jacker, and this is one of those tracks where the drivers are constantly going to be adjusting on both sides of the track because of the different banking levels and the different shapes of both sides of the track. So these drivers are going to be very, very busy with their fingers tonight on the steering wheel, adjusting while also trying to go almost 200 miles per hour and trying to pass other cars in the process. So very, very stressful kind of race. It's not one of my favorites out there. It's a track that I haven't really had a ton of success on, but I'm excited to see how these guys maneuver, and I think we're in store for a good race under the lights tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tricky one for sure. And the thing is, and like you said, I mean, it's not even just the racetrack. Because if we get to the point of green flag pit stops potentially, which I was hearing is full rich, probably around 40 or so laps would be the magic window. So of course, then somebody's going to pull some fuel numbers out, try to see if maybe we'll see maybe 45 laps, maybe even further. But it's that pit entry. They got a pit entering turn number 3, and it's a very flat and fairly narrow road down there, so it's very easy to overshoot that one, slide back onto the track, and we've definitely seen incidents happen there. And then you're not done once you get out of pit road. Same thing. It's just you got cold tires, you're full of fuel, and you're trying to kind of hustle out through the field, and it's not easy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers are able to kind of navigate that. The pit strategy. Do you try to short pit? Do you just go as long as you can? So there's gonna be a lot going on, but from everything I've seen in practice, I think 1 and 2 is gonna definitely be that trouble turn, though. Just the kind of the sharper angle of the turn, the little extra banking. As I was hearing drivers mentioning in clean air 3 and 4, they can take that one flat out. So, I think it's gonna be one of those ones where I think they're gonna need to use 3 and 4 to build that momentum to then try to make those moves into 1 and 2.
This is definitely one of those tracks where the mid-pack gets very, very dicey and very feisty, especially on starts and restarts because of the difficulty of passing on this track. With the multiple lines you could take into these corners, it definitely poses a bit of a challenge. So a lot of these guys in the mid-pack are not going to be moving up as fast as we normally see on some of these faster tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how it's all going to pan out. The field is just starting to grid up here, which means we got to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And we'll do that as we speak. And it's going to be Raphael Eckert on pole over Christopher. And then you've got Craig Forsyth, Mark Murphy, and Joe Branch there, our top 5. Matt Wagner in 6th. Eric Peterson, Jim Herrick, Nick DeGroot, Jeff Heisong continues our top 10. And then continuing down the order, you've got Baron Glover, Hugo Galaz there, 11th, 12th. Jason Collins, Edson Santos, Sam Cosner, Nick Wheeler, Eric Schaus, Gary Laverne, Casey Putsky, Frank Irwin Jr. are top 20. And then you got Shane Coker there, Mason Mitchum, Joseph Morales, and Rick Sanchez. And then in the 25th spot, we've got Bill Colley. So you can see kind of the last couple of drivers that are there opting not to put down the qualifying lap. Maybe just kind of like you talk about the mid-pack, just aggression and kind of just chaos. Maybe they're like, you know what, let's stay a little further back. That way we have some time to react, see if we can avoid it if something is to happen in front of us. So, yeah, now it's going to be all about that strategy. And to me, though, on this one, Andrew, it's going to be is really turn 3, building those tire temperatures up. Actually, I'm going to lie. I'm going to go back on what I said myself. Coming out of turn number 2 with those cold tires, I think that's going to be the first little hurdle. And then trying to hope that those tires are up to temp coming into 3 and 4.
I think going through turn 1 and 2 on the start is going to be a little bit sketchy, and hopefully these guys all look out for each other. And if you got to run out there, just go for the pass. If you don't really think you have it, just hang back and try and go for it again on the second lap. It seems to be that the starts are obviously the best time to go for it, but it's not always easy based on how little the gap is in turn 1 and 2 to make a pass.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, Matt and Craig, as the admins, they've done a really, really good job as well of just really working on the drivers. Like, hey, okay, we need to make sure that we're practicing our starts, practicing our restarts. And we've seen. I feel like they've done a really good job over last season of just not having those issues of maybe as many accordion restart instances we've seen before. So, yeah, I've got to applaud Matt and Craig. They've definitely been putting a lot of work out to just try to kind of help everybody get more comfortable with those situations. And so you can see here, the pace car lights are just starting to show up on the racetrack there, which means it's only going to get darker right now. Track time is 7:27 p.m. Track temperature right now, Andrew, 84 degrees. Probably will cool off a little bit on the track side of things, but I think this is cool enough. I don't think the handling is going to change too much throughout the course of this race.
Yeah, once we get a little bit colder, speeds will pick up a little bit, and it'll be a little bit easier to try and get some runs on some guys. But yeah, I think the grip level out there is going to be pretty interesting, and I'm sure these guys are ready for a challenge, and we're about ready to get underway.
Yeah, we're going to see that pace car make the sharp left, which in this game, if the drivers did it, it would be an unsafe pit entry because they got to do it entering turn 3, like we mentioned. Pace car, it's got its own set of rules, but we are about to get underway here. Wait for that green flag to fly. And we are underway here, 135 laps at Gateway, as Raphael Eckert, Christopher lead the field to green.
We have a little bit of a check up there in the third row. Someone didn't really get going right away, but here we go into turn 1, and looks like everyone's kind of going side by side through there. Not very many issues, so I think we got a clean exit out of turn 1. The mid-pack is getting feisty, just like I mentioned before.
Yeah, I say so far so good, but yeah, you're right there. Everybody's starting to, and say this where again, you try to find all that track position, try to find the clean air, and just also, yeah, just try to make sure that, like I said, build those temps up. But clean lap number 1 here, and like I said, for we've talked about the clean air, Raphael Eckert, he is definitely loving life, and that's where things a little further back. Look at this mess back here. A little bit of contact there. I think that may have been Gary Laverne there. We'll see if he has any wing damage. Looks like it's okay there. And I saying that's always a concern too. And that car in front of you has disappeared there. He's back in frame. And that's going to, as you see Gary, he rolled out of it there and he decided, I'm just going to completely change lanes because that's definitely a big concern because you don't know where that guy might pop back up.
I went back and checked that start there, and it was Mark Murphy who had.
That is Nick Wheeler. And I think it's just going to be a little solo spin. He's going to be able to grab a gear, get back in reverse, and then grab a gear and get going. And I think it's just going to be a quick little simple spin here. So not, I say, of the situations that you could have, that could have been a lot worse. Let's go back here. We'll take a quick look at it here. So we'll focus on Nick Wheeler here coming out of turn number 2. And I say we'll see if we can see that thing start to kick around or not. And you can see he's running right on seam. Yeah, you can see as soon as he gets on that throttle, there comes the momentum and just say the rear coming around the front. And yeah, I think just a simple little loop around though, and I think gonna come away from this pretty unscathed. So kind of not what you want to happen, but of the potentials, definitely about the best you could hope for there. That said, though, they are a limited set of tires here, Andrew, so he might need to limp these ones along. That probably won't be hurt too bad, but definitely won't be as happy as they could be for sure.
Well, we're going to see some of these guys towards the back of the field come into the pits most likely. So probably not going to change tires, just top up with some fuel. There might be a couple of guys who may forget to do that and change their tires anyway, but you definitely want to, you have no harm, no foul to come in from the back of the field here. Just get a little bit of extra fuel and maybe run your stint a little bit longer and take advantage of clear track once the cars ahead of you have to do their pit stop, should they run out on a green flag.
Yep, exactly right. There. And so far, I think, so no mistakes. Nobody accidentally set the tires on, so everybody's going to roll out safe. And I say it's pretty much a range of 3 to 6 seconds on the pit stops there. Eric Schau's going to be the first to come out of pit road. And Yeah, I'm gonna say honestly, not a bad loss for him. He only loses 3 spots from where he qualified, so and he's gonna have a few extra laps of fuel. Obviously, not a ton, but again, I mean, we've seen it from time and time again. If and when there's sometimes yellows, it's a lot of times it's during the pit stop cycle when everybody's on a different sequence, and that could be an option where maybe Eric is going a little longer than the rest. That caution comes out and either traps the fields a bunch of them a lap down or just kind of cycles himself back towards the front with the strategy. So I like the call. It looks like Dick Wheeler, he's going to choose to pit this time, as well as Joseph Morales as well. So he'll actually gain a couple of those spots back right now out of this one. So there's a lot of strategy there, and you saw those guys, and it's the same for under caution as under green. They have to do this in-ring turn number 3. If they enter late, it'll be an unsafe pit entry. They'll have, I believe, a 40-second stop and hold. So that said, though, they're going to have to make sure they get a quick stop in here, though, Andrew, because say the pace car, we're on the 1 to go. Pace car's already coming out of 2, so should be quick and easy. And we'll see. I'm going to watch Nick here, see if that car jumps up on the jacks or not, because that'll be another thing to verify on tires. And nope, he is going to save those tires as well, as is Bill Cawley. So no extra sets of tires. And now we're going to get back to green. But again, the bigger difference here, Andrew, single file. And then this time, Rafael has full control to go as early or late as he chooses once that pace car is off the racing surface.
And based on how the curve of turn 4 kind of exits, it's actually a little bit easier to kind of see the cars up ahead of you starting to go. So the accordions are not really such a big deal at this track. Of course, they could happen anywhere, especially if you're right up on someone's rear wing there, and it's difficult to see when the cars go. But some of these guys that are sitting in the bottom part of the top 10 into the teens, they can easily see when the cars ahead are going. And it looks like we're going to be underway now.
Yep, waited till out of turn number 4 and down and away. A little bit of a checkup. Yeah, you can see a little stack up further back here. Looks like everybody's able to react well. But yeah, it looks like there was a little bit of stack. You see some guys already kind of jockeying for a position. But again, though, same thing, though. Going to have to build up a little bit of tire temperature. Eric Schaus, though, he's going to waste no time. He wants to get some of that track position back when it's kind of the easiest, really, once everybody's still building that momentum back up. So he's going to grab the spot, and he's actually back to where he started this race. So he's definitely the highest of those that pitted at the moment. But again, still lots of time to go. I think Nick Wheeler may have this time bigger hit there. He's going to get off the racing surface, and he's going to loop around the access road. But we'll see. He's off the racing surface. This may stay green, and it looks like it is going to nope. Actually, as I say, that caution now comes out. You can see the flagman waving it, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be from the 88 car another time here, as he does make the pit road. But you can see this time a lot more damage to his machine. So this will be where that one fast repair comes into play. So let's take a look here and see if we can find where this occurred. Unfortunately, not the night for Nick Wheeler that he's been hoping for to start this one off.
Yeah, I think he actually made contact with someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Big contest. That maybe Mason Mitchum. Yeah, it's Mason Mitchum. Basically just different closing rates there in turn 3. Maybe I say obviously we're watching super slow mo from outside the car. But yeah, it maybe either Mason slowed down more than Nick was expecting, or whatever it may be, and so you can see he kept it pointing straight, was heading to pit road, and then just all the suspension damage. These things just there's no way to keep them tracking straight, and initially it looked like it was going to be okay, but then somewhere in this vicinity here, iRacing decided that it didn't like what it saw and it went ahead through it, and truthfully, I think it could have easily gone green. So unfortunate, I'm not really sure, truthfully. I'm going to say for Nick, probably very fortunate, because he's going to be able to hang on to some track position again from this. I think maybe he'll lose a lap. Otherwise, yeah, just one lap down now. Otherwise, he would have definitely lost a number of laps in that whole scenario. And then once again here, it looks like some more pitters here, Andrew. This time Nick DeGroot's going to be one. He was one of the furthest up there that opted to pit. Schaus is back in again, as well as Rick Sanchez, Bill Cawley. So the guys that pitted that first time, they're going to come back in here a second time. I said the furthest up this time, though, being that 89 of Nick DeGroot. So Nick's going for an off sequence now.
And I noticed that he also did not go up on the jack, so he is still on his starting tire, but now he's just placed himself right in the middle, towards the back, probably more towards the back of the pack, actually. So I think I think that's an interesting strategy. You know, you always kind of want a tire advantage if you're pitting from the mid pack there. You're hoping that other drivers come with you, but it's also possible Nick was not aware that some of the drivers already in the back pitted. So some of the people that pitted on the first pit stop may actually have come up a little farther than where they started. So that's also an interesting thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, so the two that pitted the first time that did not pit this time, that 00 that we're showing right here of Sam Cosner, he is in that yellow and black arrow machine, and then also right behind him, Frank Irwin Jr. as well. Those are two that pitted the first time around, not the second time around. So again, they pit on lap 4 versus lap 9. So again, not a big difference on fuel. I'm going to say it's not going to be that full like 9 laps that we're showing with the leaders versus them. Of course, we always talk about those fuel maps as well. Right now, a lot of these leaders probably running a map 8 or something to get that caution fuel map to save any extra fuel. So it is probably maybe about a 4 lap difference between the guys that topped off and the leaders at this point.
Well, yes, that's one thing to mention. But in Frank Irwin's case, he's actually higher on the track now than where he started. So he's already on a pit stop, and he's higher than where he started, which is a very interesting stat there. But we're gonna go green here again.
Yep, watching out from a flag stand. You can see this time, I think definitely went earlier. You can see already breaking the draft as well. As watch the field all kind of stream right underneath the flagman, building up speed. And so far, once again, looks like a nice start through the field. As we'll jump back up, pick up our leaders. As you can see, here comes that kind of the snake that I like to call. As you see them just all weaving down the backstretch, trying to stay on the draft of one another. Because again, to me, this is where you can make the most here. And just kind of grab that draft, try to see if you can steal a spot or two when you're still building that speed up. But right now, the front group pretty even. Right now, the biggest battles right here was Gary Laverne, Casey Pahutsky. Now let's add Jason Calds and Edson Santos to that list. I say these are the first guys really running side by side. Ooh, I think that may have been Casey. Maybe just a little kiss of the wall. You can see momentum lost there. And that's opened the door for Sam here to try to see if he could peek underneath. Oh, I think he touched the rumble strip there.
Very, very tough battles in the mid-pack here. I'm also watching Casey and Gary still go at it. Losing touch in their battle a little bit to some of the cars ahead of them. But this is kind of what I was talking about. You really want to go for it, and then sometimes you kind of take a little bit too big a bite out of the apple, and next thing you know, you find yourself touching the curb or the apron, and then you're going to have to really work your hands and try and save the car a little bit, as Gary looks like he might lose a spot here.
Yeah, hopped on board with Eric. He's got a really good view of it, so I say whether or not he likes the view or not, but you can see he's got a good little angle of what's going on in front of him here. But right now he's holding pretty steady right now in that 20th position. Again, one of those that topped off on lap number 9. As, yeah, you can see the closing rates there, though. He gets right to that rear wing, though, Frank Irwin.
We got Nick DeGroot also lurking in this pack as well, who hit on the last lap, or the last caution period there. And I'm sure he's wondering if he made the right decision or not, as he watches all these cars around him just go side by side and watching all the leaders pull off into the distance. But Nick will always find a way. He has something up his sleeve if he decided to pit at that period of time. So
yeah, he has something.
Reading the race.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, Andrew. Sorry to step on your toes there. But yeah, you're right. He's always got something up his sleeves there. So we'll see what the strategy is. You saw he got right up to, I believe that was Shane Coker. And then Shane actually got a great run out of 1 and 2. And same thing once again, getting by Gary Laverne. Now Nick's going to work over Gary here as well. Because right now, like I said, Nick is starting to slowly gain some of those spots back. Still kind of, again, a net loss from where he started, but is right now the highest of those that pitted on that previous yellow. So the furthest up of anybody topping off is this guy here, Sam Cosner. Talked about him just a little bit ago as well. But yeah, right now, for the most part up front, though, pretty spaced out evenly. Closest battle right here is between these two guys, Jim Herrick, Eric Peterson. They've raced with each other a lot of times, so I'll say one of the things where now they probably know each other's moves and kind of how to counteract them, if you will. And then a little further back, I was watching Jason Collins and Sid Santos. They continue to have their battle just outside that top 10 in 12th and 13th.
I think Gary Laverne might be carrying some sort of damage from that incident on the first part of the race there, because he's lost a lot of spots, and down the straightaways he's almost 5 or 6 miles per hour slower than the other cars around him. So he might be nursing a bit of side pod damage there, and therefore he's lost a bunch of these spots and really can't do much about it. Once you get that damage, it's not fixable. You get the fast repair, of course, but he may be trying to save that in case something else happens down the line. But right now, there's something wrong with his car because he's lost quite a few spots and he's kind of losing the pack as well.
Yeah, no, the car definitely does not look comfortable. And like you said, yeah, it seems like these guys. Oh, we saw Mason Mitchum there. Oh, yeah, a little bit of contact with Bill Colley. I think Bill's gonna have some not some suspension damage. Sorry, some possibly wing damage. I saw it go. Well, it actually looks like it may have repaired itself, but there definitely was some contact between the two of them. But it looks like they've been able to get back away with it. So yeah, so it looks like all's well back for them at the moment. Up a little further here, Eric Schaus, Frank Irwin Jr. Eric's trying to get around Frank, can't quite do it as of yet. I'll say Frank, again, I think he's relatively new to the league, if I'm not mistaken, but he's had a really good couple of runs here. Just I don't think he's had the luck to kind of finish it all the way through. But I've definitely seen pace out of that number, that Carvana car. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him. But I got to jump further back up because we've got a nice little battle here. Peterson, Herrick, and Highsong all nose to tail right now here going through 1 and 2.
I see that Herrick has been working on Peterson for many, many laps now, and he just can't get the job completed. I'm sure Jim is thinking he can catch up to that pack up ahead of him, but he's just not able to really get the advantage here. And that's, what I was mentioning in the pre-race there is just the different lines that you could take around this track. Sometimes the advantageous line really isn't the shortest line around the track. And if you can kind of hog the middle lane or the outside lane and force someone to go down low, it can make it a little difficult. But I think Jim might have a run. He's going to be a little bit ahead going to turn 3, but his angle's going to be quite shallow. So it's very interesting to me that the middle line of 3 and 4 right now is so strong. And there's a lot of grip up there. I think that has to do with a little bit of the colder temperatures. But these cars are able to make their way around that middle line and maintain position, which is very unusual for this track.
Yeah, a little bobble there out of the exit for the 40, but yeah, no, and I mean we saw the previous lap there. Jim gets a great run running the top side through 3 and 4 or 1 and 2. Oh, caution's out, and Bill Colley, Nick Wheeler as well. So that's going to be night over for Nick Wheeler. We know that car's out of fast repairs. We'll take a look at Bill's car, and yeah, this time definitely has broken right front. And again, I wonder if this is one of the situations where maybe Bill, unfortunately, had kind of fallen back into a bad position there with maybe some of the damage he had. We think he may have had a little earlier. So let's see. We're going to try to find back here and hunt down that Bill Colley.
Watching the pit entries myself now because it looks like most of the field's coming in.
All right, so we're watching Bill here. And from what I'm seeing, it looks like it's going to be on the entry here to turn number 1. Yeah, I see a lot of drivers. It's definitely a mixed bag. And, just actually in the straightaway there before entering turn number 1. So a little surprising on that one. Again, we're running slow-mo, so it's hard to say if maybe just kind of trying to get that arc in or misjudge it or what it may be. But, yeah, unfortunately, those two get together and like I said, night over for the 88, and unfortunately for Bill, definitely going to need that fast repair here. But yeah, like you mentioned, though, pit stops are happening here, and so leaders are in. Tires are going on. These guys, they went about 27 laps there. Again, that was maybe about halfway through a fuel run with the yellows that we've had so far. But it looks like pretty much all the leaders that pitted here are going to go ahead and throw tires on their cars here. But they're going to be dropping back now, though, Andrew. So now Rafael Eckert leading. Now is going to get to that dirty air back in the 8th position. 3 drivers are still to pit in this race, which will be our top 3, Mark Murphy, Jim Herrick, and Baron Glover. And then we talked about the strategy with Nick DeGroot having something up his sleeves. He is going to stay out. He'll jump all the way up into the top 5 along with Eric Schaus. And then it looks like Mason Mitchum and Joseph Morales, they said, you know what? I don't know if I want to be up here yet. Looks like they're going to go ahead and hit pit road here. And maybe just the same thing, just don't want to be up in that position as of yet. And so they're going to hop in here, and we'll see if it's fuel or tires. But yeah, so this is going to be a good test here, though, I feel like, Andrew, of fresh tires versus somewhat used tires, and then of course also that little bit of lighter fuel as well for those top 3. So we've got really 3 different strategies right now, from 1st through 3rd, 4th and 5th, and then 6th on back. So it's gonna be really intriguing.
Gateway is definitely where tires do matter, but not if you're stuck in the middle of the pack. So track position kind of slightly outweighs the tire life at this track. So Mark Murphy was once clear track. He wants to try a different strategy. He's watching the cars up ahead of him in the first stint and knows that he probably can't really get too much of an advantage. So if he's going to make a stamp on this race at all, it's going to be staying out, trying to do what Eckert did and just try and get a 1+ second lead gap. And hopefully it works out later on in the race when he may have to maybe not cut out a pit stop necessarily, but just do something a little bit different. But we've seen that this race is kind of being hampered by cautions in the middle of stints and everything. So it's very tough to assume that this is going to go green all the way, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see here as we're about to get back underway. As you can see, Mark Murphy back underway here. And also, I like the call for Jim Herrick. We saw he definitely had pace, just wasn't able to get around that. Which car was it again? I'm blanking. His name's Eric Peterson.
Peterson.
Or do I have it backwards? Was it Peterson on Herrick? No, it's Herrick on Peterson.
You have it
Okay.
right.
So this will give him that clean air that he's been hoping for too. So, as I said though, caution back out. This time it is Gary Laverne. So talked about that potential faster pair. Might be a requirement. This time you see that front wing completely gone. So let's take another look back at this one. So it looked like it happened pretty much right after the green here. So we'll focus on Gary here. We'll take a look as he enters turn number 1, and that car is already tracking sideways. So let's back it up just a teeny bit more. That thing just breaks loose on entry. So, I mean, Andrew, what do you see in that scenario where a car just completely steps out on entry? Is that too much rear brake, or what do you see on that, or is that even just maybe cold tires?
I think it's a little bit of a mix of everything. You got maybe a little bit too much weight jacker. Your rear bar is a little bit too high, so the back of the car swings very easy. Plus, you're dealing with the fresh tires as well. And we also know that Gary was probably carrying some sort of damage as well. So a little smorgasbord of a whole bunch of different aspects probably attributed to that crash.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And we saw in the replay there, definitely more contact than just the nose cone. So, and like you mentioned, if he was lingering some damage, this is a great opportunity for him as well. It's like, okay, now there's no question. Let's get the fast repair on this car. And kind of, yeah, of course, I'm going to have to run 100 laps basically clean from here on out. But I don't think it's worth limping that damage the rest of the way. So it looks like he's going to be the only one to hit pit road here. So we'll take a quick break here. Got to show off our awesome sponsor, 4D Racewear. Always got to appreciate Jim on that one. So we'll stay tuned, but we'll be right back.
4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, lights are off of the pace car, so we are going to get back to green here this time around. Again, you can see the pace car, the lights are getting a little brighter on that track, so it's getting a little darker and darker as we go. So we're not too far from being completely under the lights here. And so now Mark Murphy's going to try to get this restart down again. So and this is what we talked about too, Andrews. You do something one time, all right, now what do you do the next time, especially when it's a quick turnaround on the restart. So we'll see if there's any adjustments made by Mark, or does Jim try something different on his side, Baron Glover, Nick DeGroot. So we'll see here as they come down out of turn number 4. And yeah, I remember say that's definitely a later start. But looks like, again, looks like pretty, no, as I said, not pretty clean. We got one up and over. Oh, huge wreck.
Several cars out here.
Yeah, so that's going to take a few of them out. I really like right here, Joseph Morales, he just comes to stop, lets these guys get it all figured out, and then he'll start rolling safely. So he's going to get through it there. But unfortunately, I think it was Shane Coker, Frank Irwin Jr., Casey Putsky, I think, also involved. So
Gary's also in the wall again. So unfortunately, that's the end of his race.
So let's take a look here. I'll try to see if we can find where this happened. Oh, actually, I already see. So I try to get a better angle of here. So yeah, you can already see. I think that's Shane Coker getting into the back, but I think, yeah, actually, it looks. You can see from this view. So we'll try to find a better angle of this. But what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of momentum off the 12 car, and just launches off of. Is that Casey Butsky, if I'm not mistaken?
That was Butsky, yes.
And then, wow, 12 goes for a ride. And then after that, though, so let me go find Casey here one more time. And then, yeah, then that checkup. So we'll back it up here. Because, yeah, and actually, I think he gets into from the contact, he actually hits the car in front of him a little bit. Maybe not. But then after that damage, that throws him up to the outside wall, and that's where Frank Irwin Jr. was. Nowhere for him to go. Look at Rick. I think he's going to squeeze the middle here. And then you can see, there was Gary. Oh, yeah, he went to avoid it, but just unfortunately too much, and that catches him to the inside wall. So, yeah, it's a tough one, unfortunately. So a lot of cars involved in this one here. Quick yellow, of course, with that. And so that's going to put us back under yellow here. And unfortunately, like you mentioned, a lot of cars here are going to have to take those faster pairs. Some are that's going to be probably night over for them. We know Nick Wheeler, he's already had to retire from his damages. Looking for Gary Laverne. He is on pit road, but yeah, that left front's broken. So if he stays in, he's going to have a lengthy pit stop there. And then, yeah, probably faster pairs. I would assume we got a couple tows being done as well. I think Shane's just able to leave now. Casey shouldn't be too far behind as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe Casey towed. I'm actually watching back to see if everybody.
Yeah, they just rolled out of pit road. This is actually really good for them, though. They're just going to beat that pace car out of pit roads. We're one to go here. So I think it's going to be the same thing. They're going to at least avoid losing as many laps as they could. So it's a good break for them. So they're going to swing back around here. I don't know if it's going to be 2 down or 1 down. We'll wait for it to update. Joseph Morales here, he's going to go and top back off here as well. So it's been a really rough start, unfortunately, here. I think that also probably makes the strategy a lot better right now if you're Mark Murphy, Jim Herrick, Baron Glover, not pitting at all. Nick DeGroot, Eric Schaus as well, same thing for them, pitting at lap 9. So, yeah, I think Mark's ready to go here. He's right on that pace car. He's like, all right, let's do this again here. Mark I feel like he went later last time. So I wonder, again, now he's going to have to do something different again here potentially. Or does he say, you know what, I'm just going to go early, that way best chance of spreading this field out a little bit more?
I think that's a smart. I was just going to say that if I had to pick something, especially if I'm getting annoyed with not getting much green flag running, there's no need to play games on lap 30 of a race with the restart. Just go as soon as you know you can go.
Yeah, so that pace car is off the racing surface, and he is down and away. So, again, we'll kind of keep watching through the field. And so far, again, everything's looking pretty solid through. And I think, there was a close call one more time there a little further up. But it looks like we're going to get through. You see Bill Cawley, he's taking no chances. He's just going to kind of move out of the way. But, yeah, so far, so good. Everybody's gotten through now through 1 and 2 clean. And so it will be now Mark Murphy in control of this race. And like I said, I think just build up some tire temperatures, get back kind of, and they'll say now you got to get back in the rhythm too here, Andrew, when you've been having these cautions and stopping and starting and stopping. It's almost, you're like, okay, how do I race this again? You almost have to remember what you've been doing prior to all this.
Yeah, I'm actually watching Bill Colley's car because I believe he might have some damage, maybe from the incident or something.
Yeah, it's very possible. I think he was involved in one of them. Looking at his pit stop time, yeah, he had an 8-second stop, so not sure. But it looks like he's holding on okay at the moment. And then, yeah, so Dooney mentioned, so Casey Pahutsky and Shane Coker are both 2 down. So those guys will actually be right now at the moment fighting for the lucky dog position should a caution come out. So that'll be their fight within a fight. Up front, pretty steadily, about a half second to a second gap. Right now, this is the battle of the drivers here closest on track. Matt Wagner and Joe Branch here. Joe's all over the rear wing of the 6th car here.
Trying to see how much ground Eckert's going to pick back up here. Again, the cars ahead of him have less fuel, so theoretically they should be a little bit faster. I think he's going to get Schaus, but by the time he gets Schaus, he's going to be out of reach of draft to get the rest of the cars up ahead of him. So I think that the cars up ahead are just, they've made their strategy bed now. They have to lie in it. So they're going to run this thing completely dry, I would imagine, and see where it takes them from there. And not play really much other strategy game. There's nothing they can really do now. There's no need to come in on like a caution that comes out in 2 laps or something like that. Knock on wood. Knock on myself.
Yeah, no, you're exactly no, you're exactly right. I think, and honestly, I think for most drivers, I don't see this one as a strategy race. I think it's obviously not a short track, but I feel like it's not like in a Michigan or Indianapolis, Pocono where you have a lot of kind of room to work, and also like an Indy and Pocono where you can within reason pit and not lose a lap. These tracks are all, of course, lose at least a lap, even some of these maybe even possibly 2. So in my mind, there's just no sense of trying to make that happen. So, but we're going to jump over here because we've got Edson working on Jason Collins. Looks like he's going to grab that spot. Jason's going to get a nice crossover here, though, out of 3. He's going to get great momentum, but looks like he's going to stay in tow. But Sam Cosner, though, he's going to try to steal that draft and take a send into turn 1. And looks like he'll hold on to the spot. And I think Jason looks like he's kind of playing nice right now from what I saw there. Definitely didn't push the issue too much. And like you said, when I was like, well, we're on lap 40, I don't need to be fighting you that hard yet. So I think, like I said, I think Jason cutting those guys a little bit of slack here early on in this race.
So Eckert's dropped back from Eric Schaus a little bit about 2 or 3 laps ago. I'm wondering if he set it in a different fuel map because like I was mentioning, he knows he's not going to get back up to the front again. So why bother trying to waste all your fuel, all your tires, trying to make passes that you probably know are low percentage anyway. So maybe he's going for a fuel saving strategy now, so he perhaps shorten the last pit stop a little bit. But I can also tell that he's running a little bit slower because Stouffer is caught up to the back of him now, and Stouffer is not one to say, hey, I'm just going to sit here and save fuel. He wants to race. So I'm pretty sure that Stouffer recognized that Eckert's probably on fuel save of sorts. It looks like Eckert's actually picked the pace back up again because he realized that Stouffer might be trying to race him, and he doesn't want to lose that spot either because it's a spot he may not get back later. So I think that things are ever changing here. Every couple laps or so, people are kind of changing up how they want to do this race.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And so I was saying this is also where I love to kind of bounce around some cars here. You see there Eckert actually kind of dropping down a little bit here. So we see Stouffer. He goes all the way to 4th gear there through turns 1 and 2. I'm going to hop to Eckert here. I want to see what he does as well. I say obviously they get up to 6th gear here down the front stretch, but I want to see. I've seen some guys even go down to 3rd at times, and it looks like, yeah, so here it goes. So Eckert's all the way down to 3rd gear. He'll jump to Stouffer. He stays in 4th the whole way through, and I say look like just a little kiss of the wall there.
That was so close. I thought that was going right up into the barrier.
So yeah, so 2 trains of thought there for turns 1 and 2. 4th gear for Stouffer, 3rd gear for Eckert, and I don't think it's going to change the fuel mileage that much. Obviously, usually if you're higher up in the revs, the thought is that it's going to burn that little bit extra fuel. So, but we'll see. But yeah, man, these guys are definitely treading pretty close out of turn 2. Let's see if I can get a view out of turn number 2. I think that'd be a really good shot to catch here. Oh, there you go. Watch these guys flirting with the wall here out of 2. So let's say we'll wait just a second. You're about to pick up Mark Murphy and the rest of the field here as they come out.
So many different lines. You can see cars kind of enter the frame. That was Eckert again. And,
Craig Forsyth. Yeah.
you can see the different schools of thought, especially what it has to do. Yeah, there's another one. That's another great cam. I remember we did this back at Auto Club, and that was that was the first race back after the new update with all the different variable winds and everything that we were finding, and it seemed like the turn 2 wall was where everyone seemed to be getting close to hitting. And that's such an interesting, not to dwell on that, but such a big track, that Auto Club Speedway, and cars are still managing to push up into the wall. So that was a very interesting camera angle, and I'm glad we got to take another look at it here too, just see how close these cars are racing.
Jim Herrick, Baron Glover here, lap 52. Again, we talked about 40 laps on full send. We've had a lot of yellows, so that let him go about 12 extra laps. So this is a scheduled green flag pit stop for these two. Mark Murphy's going to be not too far behind as well. But that said, though, I mean, for Mark being the one leading this pack and still being able to run an extra lap or two shows how much fuel saving he was doing while he was in the pack prior to taking over this lead. So once this cycles through, though, again, they'll have a couple more laps where then I think it'll be Eric Schaus that takes over. And here, actually, let's hop on board here as he's going to hit pit road. Just, again, to show you how, like you can see all the way down into second gear here. Because, again, it is a very flat pit entry here. And there's the cone. He's got to get it wound down right before they get on the limiter. And then he is going to now drive all the way down to his pit stall, which will now hand that lead over like we were talking about to Nick DeGroot. Eric Schaus here behind him in second. And then, oh my gosh, Ecker is just flirting with that wall out of 2. Again, these guys, I'm going to guess what, maybe another five laps or so we're thinking for DeGroot and Schaus, maybe getting to almost lap 60.
Well, if right now we have 80 laps left of this race, and if you can go 40 laps, then from this point it's one more stop. So I'm not really sure if Barron and whoever the other driver was that pit there,
Herrick and Murphy.
Yeah, they'll have to save a lap or 2 of fuel, which is something that you could easily do on this track with fuel maps. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that Schaus and DeGroot have stayed out this long, they can run full map 1, do 40 lap stints, and then make the end of this race. So if they come in any lap from now, they're good to go to the end with one more stop. Whereas the other drivers behind in that pit early also have to do one more stop after, from where we stand right now. May have to do 2 stops actually, since they pit around lap 28, 29. I think that was that second caution or so.
Sounds about right.
Remember we said Nick DeGroot has something up his sleeve, and looks like that's coming to fruition right now if this really pans out.
Yeah, I mean, Nick knows a thing or two, and this is also now where when you're these other guys, it actually looks like Nick might be hitting pit road here.
Yep, Nick and Eric are both in.
Yep, Eric's coming right along with him, and almost maybe one of those things for Eric is you can kind of use Nick here as your kind of your base. So you can see, look how much time Eric's going to gain there on the entry. Gets right to the back of Nick DeGroot there in entry. So, like I said, now these guys that are all pitting, they've got to wait, again, another almost 20 laps probably before these guys have to pit that are up front. Oh, it's Eric Peterson. That car's got significant damage here. Well, it did have significant damage, and I think
he hit that wall pretty hard. I believe he's going to have going to be carrying some Gary Lovern type damage here. We could check his speed going down the front straightaway, but you can already see that the cars are kind of clouding up on him here. So going down the back straightaway, he's probably going to, let's see, Q goes up.
See if he limps it or not, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely down on speed. So he's going to be nursing some damage, and I bet he wishes that pit stop would come sooner rather than later. Rip that fast repair on and keep going.
Yeah, because I saw from a distance, I could see basically the tire flopping, and again, that's one of the things with iRacing is then it kind of fixes itself, so you don't officially know what's going to happen. But yeah, that car definitely not too happy. But right there, I saw Sam Cosner big loose there to turn 2. But you're right, though. I think just these guys also, they can see that there's something going on, so they'll take advantage of it here. As you'll see, he'll jump to the inside, and it'll say when you hit the wall like that, that car's just going to get tighter and tighter. So Peterson's just got to try to hang on for dear life, basically, until he can make that pit stop. So, and again, because at this point he does not want to go off cycle. Because I was about to say is the guys like Mark Murphy on back, they're sweating bullets right now because they know that they're trapped a lap down here at the moment, and so if there's a yellow, they're in trouble. But I gotta say though, Mark Murphy though, in that pit stop cycle, he is about 4 seconds now above Jim Herrick. And then same thing for Eric Schaus, Nick DeGroot. They're about a second off of him. So he has done a very, very good in and out lap in that 69 car through his pit stop cycle, and he's completely driven away from those guys on the same strategy.
So he did stop a couple laps earlier, so he probably needs to save a little bit of fuel if he wants to do this on one more stop. I'm not sure if it's 40 on the dot you were saying. Maybe it could be 41, 42. If that's the case, he may be okay. But again, it's not very hard to save a lap or so of fuel around here. Just pop into a higher fuel mix, sit behind a car for a little bit, just keep hitting the draft all the way around the track, and you should easily be able to do that. But if he is a second or two ahead and he has to kick his pace down a little bit just in order to save that little bit of fuel, that will probably have both DeGroot and Schaus catch up to him, and then we'll probably have a race on our hands towards the end.
Yeah, so right now Mark Murphy pitted at 53, Herrick at 51, and then Schaus and DeGroot at 57. And then Baron Glover is 51 as well. So Mark did go a little further than Herrick and Glover. But yeah, like I said, then a few laps before Schaus and DeGroot. So right now, lap times, they're pretty close to each other. Right now, pretty much all the fast guys are running in the low 25s. Obviously, the clean air at the moment for Raphael Eckert has him just in the 24s. He had a 24.99. Everybody else is in like 25.0, 25.1 range. But that said, though, for Raphael, not too far away here. He's going to start to get some traffic up in front of him. And so that's going to change some things a little bit for him as well. So he's going to have to try to kind of manage his pace, because here's these next three cars for him: Mason Mitchum, Joseph Morales as well in that mix. So he's going to start. He'll for a little bit. It's going to be nice, I think. Andrew's like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm going to get some extra draft. I'm going to get a little more top end, and then he's going to get to that aero wash, and it's going to be a whole different scenario.
I'm impressed by whatever Eckert's doing to keep this lead going. He's routinely a tenth and a half faster than Stouffer every lap, and both cars are in clean air. So there's a little bit of a tool in-car tool difference or something of that nature that's giving him just a little bit more speed here, and it's a good job, and he's able to pull something off right now. But unless there's another caution, he's not on the winning strategy right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, like I said, depending on how this plays out, who's going to cycle out where. And something I feel like I've said a lot with Raphael is whatever, like I said, whatever they have setting-wise or doing behind the wheels, we just crossed the halfway point. Raphael is very, very good at keeping his tires in good shape and then really being able to make some big moves at the ends of these races where everybody else's tires are start to kind of fall off. His seem to just stay alive that much better. So I've definitely noticed that a lot with him, where he can really keep those tires underneath him. And I think that's what we're seeing right here as well, like you mentioned, kind of with the clean air between himself and Stouffer. However, now he's going to start to get into that dirty air. He's going to have to change his lines around. These guys are not obligated to roll over for him. If they're trying to stay on the lead lap, they can fight and try to run their line, and it's his job to get around them. So this may not be a walk in the park. A lot of these guys will play nice and like, all right, you know what, I'm not going to fight you too hard here, as I think we just saw that right there. I believe that was Joseph Morales. As Christopher, actually, he's going to hit pit road here. What are we thinking on this strategy here, Andrew?
Well, I think it's getting close to the time where they would need to pit, so he knows he's watching Eckert skip off into the distance, so why not try and see if he can do a whopper, a pit stop, and get some track position back. But again, you're putting yourself at risk here by going down a lap, pitting early, that if a caution happens to come out, then you're in trouble. So every one of these drivers has to do 2 more stops, except for the ones that pitted in the 50s. So I believe I hear Eric Peterson called himself in, and I believe Forsyth also is coming in. So maybe we are just starting in rotation now.
Raphael missed the entry, and then the car disappeared. I'm not sure if it's come back or not yet. Oh, he has come back, and now he's up alongside Matt Wagner. Oh, now these cars are hooked together. Oh, my goodness. I think what Matt needs to do here, I'm wondering if this is one of those things that even Matt's aware of. I'll say that's what they were going to need to do, is he needed to get into his pit stall. Now for Matt, the question is, does he have damage from that or not? But yeah, and you see Raphael there, he just took his fast repair on that. I could tell Raphael was too hot on entry, and then unfortunately the connection issue happened. So the question mark is going to be for Matt there, what his car has going on for him. As you see that car disappearing, so connectivity issues starting to happen to him. Those that haven't pitted or are about to pit now is Joe Branch. He's on pit road as we speak. Edson Santos following him along. Jason Collins looks like he just found a gap to sneak into there in the 96 machine to hit pit road as well. So that's going to give over here to Rick Sanchez. He's going to take the lead here for the moment. And I believe is going to have Nick DeGroot right now still on the tail end of the lap down, if I'm not mistaken. So right now this is big for Nick because that puts him back on the lead lap here. And you can see right there Rick saying, yep, I'm coming in here. I'm going to signal myself way to the bottom. He's going to jump on in there. He's got one come along with him. I think that is, nope, not Mason Mitchum. That was, looking at my timing list there. I'm losing names and numbers here.
I just want to mention at the beginning of that pit stop rotation when Stouffer came in, Schaus had gotten by to Groot. So Schaus is now ahead of Nick.
Oh, you're right.
On track by quite a bit, actually, about half a straightaway or so. Mark Murphy still is way ahead, but he is questionable if he's got enough fuel in the tank to do it on just one more stop. But yeah, somewhere when they were going through that mid-pack battle there with Frank Irwin Jr., Eric Peterson, Jason Collins were a couple of those cars. Schaus managed to outfox Nick and pass him somewhere along the way. I missed exactly where the pass was, but I did see he was ahead of him. So that's good on Schaus, and now Nick's going to be playing catch-up.
And so right now, these two have been just sipping fuel right now here, Andrew. Joseph Morales, Mason Mitchum. These are the two leaders. Now Joseph's going to peel off. He's going to make his pit stop, and he's able to keep it underneath that yellow line there. And so now this is him coming in at 59 to go. Mason Mitchum, he's going to go another lap. He last pitted at 34, and we're at 78 right now. So that's some really good fuel mileage. I think that put him at about 44 laps or so. It looks like he's going to be coming in around this time as well. And then this will now complete our cycle. But it is very mixed right now, Andrew. Right now our leading driver pitted at lap 53 of Mark Murphy. And then Craig Forsyth now is going to be in second place, pitting 20 laps later than him in that number 99. Then Christopher, we talked about, did the slight short pit strategy. Jim Herrick at lap 51. Schaus at 57. So, I'm looking at the top 10 here, and the laps they pitted, it's everywhere. And so this is a very, very intriguing strategy now for kind of who's got what on the pit stops, when they have to pit, how much fuel do they need. There's going to be a lot to watch for, but I think, like you said, the magic number, probably around 40 to go, then we know the window's open for these guys to make it to the end, no drama.
Yeah, so just to simplify it a little bit, we have Murphy, we have Herrick, we have Schaus, we have DeGroot, we have Aaron Glover, all drivers that are on the lap 50s or so pit stop. So they're all going to be coming in sometime around the mid-90s or so. And if they can make it to 94, 95, they'll be done. If they come in anywhere before 95, they'll have to save a little bit of fuel and hopefully make it to the end. Whereas the rest of the drivers, Forsyth, Stouffer, Wagner, Branch, and Eckert, those guys all pit just recently. So they'll be coming in for a splash around lap 115 or so. Yeah, around lap somewhere in the 1-teens. So it's clear to see here that I thought the one-stoppers would have this race easily won, but I'm pretty sure that the likes of Murphy, well, not Murphy so much as he jumped out way ahead, but Schaus, Herrick, and DeGroot in particular all came out in that traffic, which really held them up and allowed the drivers that were in the lead to just run clear laps and kind of eat away at that time that they had initially lost to the guys that were on the less fuel after the last caution.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And it's going to be interesting to see. You saw there Matt Wagner, Eric Schaus had a really, really good fight there. Matt got really loose out of 2, had to chase it, and now he's going to regroup and get back after him. Also, Nick DeGroot's in a nice little battle here as well with Baron Glover not too far behind, Edson Santos right in front. And then these guys here, you got Hugo Galaz right there, Jeff Heisong, Sap Cosner's right there in that mix. So these guys are all really tight to each other here. Jeff Heisong's trying to get to Hugo here just outside the top 10. And I can give you an update. I was peeking over at the YouTube chat. Unfortunately for Raphael there, his steering wheel disconnected on his pit entry, and that's what we saw there with him disconnecting. And then for him, what was happening was basically iRacing was stuck on the same frame. So when the steering wheel disconnects, it basically the everything kind of just has that freezes for a second. And I've had this myself as well, and so basically he sees nothing happen, and then all of a sudden, then everything comes back, and it's one of those things. Who knows where he is on track at that time, and especially if he has no wheel input. So, I hate it for you, Raphael. You were having a really, really good run there. Like we were talking about just the pace you had on those old tires, and yeah, it's unfortunate. We talk about in real racing the mechanical side of things. Unfortunately, in iRacing, we've got the connectivity side of things that you sometimes have to deal with. So, but yeah, right now, Andrew, this is a gaggle right here from Baron Glover. Now add Sam Cosner. We got 4 cars here, all under a blanket. Chris Stouffer's been starting to chase down Craig Forsyth for that second spot. Eric Schaus, Jim Herrick, all right together as well. So there's a lot of battles here. A lot of drivers starting to tighten up to each other here as we get under 50 to go.
We have a couple of lapped cars in the mix as well, with Shane Coker, Joseph Morales sitting in that pack as well. So it's kind of a hornet's nest, as they like to say in commentator world, but especially because these guys want to try and get a top 10 if they can. They're all right there, really close, and they're just hoping that these lap cars don't play too much of an effect on it. But this is probably the busiest part of the track right now, as the leaders have kind of separated quite a bit, with the top 4 or so all spread out by 5 seconds. And then you got that battle for the top 10 there at the bottom part of the top 10.
Yeah, Sam's got a good view of all this going. You can see all these guys 2 by 2 in front of him. So you can see Haisong Galaz, they're going after it and saying, and that's the thing too, is if one of them bobbles, the next guy's going to try to capitalize on it if they can. So you're almost forced to be a little bit maybe more aggressive. Yeah.
Wow, Haisong had a little bit of a bump there with Baron Glover. I thought that was going to be chaos right there. I was kind of watching a slow train wreck happen there, but all drivers are okay. Everyone got out of it. Yeah, this is definitely one of the more exciting parts of the race. Even though they're not racing for any real high positions, you're just kind of doing these over-under moves, trying to figure out which line is better. And sometimes it's just really fun to try and find where the clean air is and see where you can get the most speed. You can really kind of sneak up on someone all of a sudden and just find yourself picking up a spot or two.
So we're going to jump back a little further because here goes Schaus. He's going to send it underneath Herrick there, and he will clear him out of turn 2. Here comes Herrick, though. He's got the momentum. He's going to dive back underneath, and we've seen that. Actually, nope, he's going to dive underneath. He's going to dive to pit road here. Oh, big slide catches it, though. Great hands there by Jim Herrick. Again, I talked about how tough this pit entry is. All right, so this is coming to 44 to go. We talked about 40 being the magic number to make it full aggressive. So Jim's going to, like I said, probably have to do a little bit of fuel save here on this final stint potentially. We're going to jump right here because these two are going side by side as we were talking about that. Right now, Sam's got it. Hugo's going to try to cross him back over here down the backstretch, though. And I'm keeping an eye to see if anybody else is hitting pit road. And yeah, here comes Baron Glover. Well.
I believe Murphy's managing to save his extra bit of fuel here for the lead. Really great strategy by him.
Yeah, and I think Craig's been catching because of it, too. Because, again, Mark Murphy pitted lap 53. Craig lap 72. So Craig's going to have to – and say the nice part is there's a little bit of clean air as well. So Craig's going to have to kind of, I think, make some qualifying laps, if you will. As I say that, though, Mark Murphy runs a 25:01. Craig does do a 24:98, so a really good lap for him as well. So, yeah, so the pace is still there. Christopher's in a little bit of a fight here with, I think that's, Casey Pahutsky. He's going to try to get him cleared. And so, yeah, so right now, though, the two that have pitted so far are Baron Glover and Jim Herrick. But, again, it's going to be a stretch for them.
The worst thing that could happen to these guys on this alternate strategy is if a caution comes out between now and lap 115 or so when everyone else starts pitting, because Murphy, Herrick, Baron Glover, Schaus, and DeGroot are all going to be a lap down. So
they're here just comes
praying.
Murphy.
They're praying for the next 20 laps that everyone just keeps it on track. And on top of that, making sure that once the pit stops begin, that no one kind of misses the access road or has some sort of incident on pit in that would cause a caution like we saw with Nick Wheeler at the start of the race. So this is very, very, very tense moments for these 5 drivers that are pitting now.
Yeah, and I'm saying there's going to be a few more adding to that list. Eric Schaus is going to be in not too far away as well. Nick DeGroot in the same boat as well. But like you mentioned, though, I mean, Schaus got around Nick, and he's been able to stay in front of him because, yeah, here goes Nick through 3 and 4. Schaus already at the start-finish line at that point. So not sure if maybe Nick's doing some big fuel saving to kind of go as far as he can to be safer. Maybe something we missed. We're not sure. But, yeah, right now, though, that's what we see here. And you see Nick going around Mark Murphy. Again, Mark now is 1 down. I think will be the first car 1 down, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to wait for timing and scoring to update. Yeah, on cue, here comes Schaus. He's on pit road as we speak. So now everybody else here, Andrew, they can go a fair bit longer. They pitted again. They pitted around lap 70 to 74 range. So based on that, like you mentioned, they can probably go to about 110. So they can go another 10 laps or so. So, yeah, all those guys that stayed out, they're sweating bullets right now because if we don't get a caution, or if we do get a caution, sorry, they're trapped a lap down. So, to me, though, for Craig here, he's got to be running Q laps in order to try to catch Mark Murphy and get around him. So, last lap, Craig ran a 25:14. Mark was a 25:41. Again, that's kind of his first fully up-to-speed lap. So, we'll have to wait as everybody starts to get cycled in. And, of course, also will depend on traffic. But Mark's in a nice little pocket here. He's got just 1 car ahead of him, Jeff Heisong, and then nothing else in front of Jeff. So this is a good place for Mark here to make some big laps.
When I was watching Eckert during his lead there, it seemed like the target lap that he was really pulling away from Stouffer and Forsyth was 24.9. So if Forsyth can do 24.9, 25.0, just to kind of counteract anything that Murphy is doing, that would be very good for him. Let's also keep in mind that since they'll be pitting somewhere in the mid-1 teens, they'll only have 20 laps left, so they won't have to take as much fuel, which will also shorten the pit stop time.
You're right. Yeah, they'll still take tires, you think, or no tires?
I was just going to say, I don't think anyone's going to risk the no-tire run because that is a very sketchy pit out, and if you're trying to catch the car going around that little access road there going back onto the track again, it could get dicey. And if you're trying to catch a spin or something like that, you immediately negate any time you had in the taking tires run. So it'll be interesting if because of the lack of needing to take a full tank, if that takes up any extra time track position that Forsyth had lost to Murphy.
That's a good point. We haven't, all the pit stops we've seen have been a full tank of fuel and tires. We haven't seen of tires and partial fill. So let's say I'm not 100% sure of how long a tire changes on these cars. If let's say it's 6 or 7 seconds, then yeah, that would be a second to 2 seconds gain during the pit stop. So, and of course the other part's going to be is how good these guys can get in and out of pit road. Because I mean, again, these guys are just stealing every ounce of pace that they can. And I can tell you lap-wise, they've been pretty much mirroring each other. Although that last lap, Mark Murphy ran a monster lap at 24:93. Now it's a 25:08 as he's now caught the dirty air of Jeff Heisong. Cannot get around him. But again, Jeff right now running in 6th position, so it's not even like it's a battle for position or getting lapped. Mark's actually the one that's the lap behind the 18 car. So, and then
Jeff would have less fuel than Mark anyway. So
and Craig ran his 24 now too, just FYI.
Yeah, so that's the target lap time, like I mentioned. It doesn't seem like the cars can do much better than a 24.9. I don't think I've seen a 24.8 as I'm thumbing through the cars here, but yeah, they're running identical lap time, so it's going to come down to the pit in, the pit out, and the box time. So I'm very excited to see how this happens. And if they happen to come out next to each other, there will be fireworks, and Forsyth is not going to want Murphy to get any sort of advantage on him. Yeah, no, Craig wants to win. He hasn't got one yet. Here he comes. Oh, that was an aggressive entry there. Caught the inside grass, even it looked like a little bit. And he is, look how far he's hustling this thing. Locks it down. Christopher's going to come in with him. Matt Wagner's going to stay out a little longer. And this is just before that 110. I think Murphy is a little frustrated with Heisong now. He tried to make some sort of like deke underneath move into turn 1, and you see he ran 25.1 that lap. Now Heisong is a nuisance for him, and Forsyth is going to appear right with these guys in the next lap. So I'm very excited to see where Forsyth pops out here.
Tires going on both cars, and 8.17 for Forsyth. Mark Murphy's at 8.55. So maybe 3/4 of a second. And so here's Craig coming out of pit road. Here's Mark Murphy.
Another one for Murphy.
Yeah, and Craig is going to be ahead of Mark Murphy. And actually, he's going to be comfortably ahead now that I look at it. I was going to say maybe get those tires built up, but he's going to be safe here because you can see Mark's still trapped behind the 18. And again, I mean, it's not Jeff's job to roll over from anything. But yeah, like you said, though, when you know you're in the heat of the battle, have a chance at the win, you really, really want to get by. And so every 10th or half a tenth you're losing lap after lap. Yeah, there's definitely some frustration, I'm sure, in that helmet of Mark Murphy's. So, but now again, it's not over though. Again, Joe Branch still has to pit. Edson Santos, Jeff Heisong. I mean, they're still the top 6 cars have yet to pit. So we'll see if there's any big changes. And I think we had our first gambler here, Matt Wagner, rolling out of pit road now. That was a 6.5 second stop. To me, that's fuel only.
And we're also noting that Forsyth, these guys that are pitting now are trapping themselves one lap down, so more tense moments trying to ensure that this track stays green, because right now caution comes out, Joe Branch is the leader.
Here comes Heisong and Pirro now. So yeah, so now like you said, yeah, Joe Branch, Santos, Collins, Irwin, those are the 4 that have yet to pit, and you're exactly right. If there's a caution out, Craig right now is still a lap down. There's Craig, and Joe's up here in front of him. So Edson's right there in the mix as well. I think if those 2 pit, then Craig is safe because he's ahead of Jason Collins, and so he'd be on the lead lap at that point. But yeah, like you said, there's still a lot that can happen. And I mean, again, for Joe here, he's doing a great job. He's just sipping fuel. He's going to make these guys sweat it out as long as he humanly can. And if I was in the same position as him, I'd be doing the same thing. And just like, all right, I like the strategy. I want to put them on the back foot. I'm going to run this thing as far as I can and make them nervous.
And right now he's stuck behind a couple lap cars where he could be saving just even a bit more fuel and make it those couple extra laps longer. I was going to say that it just gets kind of sketchy once all the cars start to pit, because you never know who's going to make a mistake on the pit in. But as less and less cars are pitting, then that becomes less and less likely. So your likelihood of a caution coming out for a pit entry or any sort of rejoining the track or leaving the track or anything just gets less and less. So I think we're looking good to continue on green for this race. So we'll probably see these guys cycle through.
Yeah, and I'm impressed again with the fuel mileage for these guys, because we're down to 22 to go, and here comes Edson. He's going to hit pit road. Jason Collins is on pit road now. Frank Irwin as well. So that's going to leave just Joe Branch as the last driver to have yet to pit. So again, he'll have to pit soon, but right now he's got the field a lap down here. So this is now where Joe's like, all right, somebody spin out. I've got the whole field lapped. I want to caution before I have to hit pit road.
Happens in this series.
Here he comes.
Yep. So it was a valiant effort to try and see what he could do to try and hit the whole field a lap down. But
yeah,
unfortunately, he's got to pay the piper now, and therefore he's probably going to lose a couple more spots than if he had pitted with the other guys.
I think it's worth the gamble. I mean, that said, I mean he was up front most of the race. Let's say he qualified 5th. So, I mean, it was definitely not like he was mid-pack kind of a thing gamble, but I think it was hey, I want to win this race gamble. I'm going to do something completely different. So definitely hats off to him for trying it. Like I said, if it was something, I would have probably tried to do the same. He's going to throw tires on just in case.
Sam Cosner just had an insane save out of turn 2.
All right, let's go hunt it down here.
Wow, that was fun to watch.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we'll back it up one more time and catch that at speed. Oh yeah, he had a good fight going, Nick DeGroot. Here we'll play it at full pace. That is not something that's usually caught, so I don't know how Sam held on to that, but
yeah, that was really Nick Wheeler did at the start of the race.
That was
hats
off Sam.
That was to catch it live.
That was an incredible save, and yeah, I'm glad you caught that too, so we could go back and check it out.
We have another spinner. Casey is spinning out of the pit road.
Oh, caution is out. That's going to change strategies up a little bit, and that's where if you are going through my driver's list again here, I say those guys that were going long, they're like, oh, why didn't you do that sooner?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the pit, right? So he's going to spin whenever he pits. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Joe Branch is thinking, though, just like, why? You could have done that earlier for me. So let's take a look here. Watch Casey coming out of pit road. Again, don't know if it was fuel only or if he took tires or not. But either way, like I said, this is a very, very difficult pit exit. And so we'll take another look here as he builds up that speed. And I'm saying I can't say, I mean, I've done this a lot of times too, just luckily
Well,
in practice.
I'm curious if he went for the no tire strategy, which is what I was scared of for drivers that that would take no tires, and this is the exact scenario I was picturing him in my head when I was telling the story. Again, he has nothing really to gain since he was kind of sitting towards the back of the field.
And that was actually really close too. I'm going to go back because watch the cars. I think it was actually Joe Branch. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's go to Joe here. Watch what he sees here. We'll still run it slow-mo, but I mean, watch as he's coming through the turn here. He sees this car sliding, and at speed, that's a terrifying position to be in. So no, you're exactly right though here, Andrew. Caution's out. We're gonna restart with definitely within 15 to go here. Obviously, the leaders aren't pitting. They've got what they've got. We have a few gamblers. Jim Herrick here, Nick DeGroot, Joseph Morales. I think it's one of those like, you know what, we got to do something. Let's go ahead and just hit pit road here, get some tires on it. And then looking at my timing and scoring, I think we're going to have 15 cars on the lead lap, if I'm not mistaken. So wait for my timing and scoring to update. And yeah, 15 on the dot. It looks like Jason Collins is the first car, one down, and then Frank Irwin Jr. right behind him, also one down. So I think it may have been, I'm not sure if it was Eric Peterson that may have got the wave or if it was maybe Joseph Morales, but always the first car one down gets that one lap back. So yeah, at the moment, looks like we'll have 15 cars gonna kind of try to go vie for the win, and that's not what Craig wanted to see here as we get the one to green, though, because Craig had a nice margin over those other guys, and so now he's going to have to crank up the aggression, and also that caution, I think, a great break for those that maybe we're going to have to save a little bit of fuel too, where now Mark Murphy, Eric Schaus, even Baron Glover, I mean, Baron pitted lap 92, they probably now have the fuel that they saved now that they can turn that wick up as well.
I'm curious to see what Stouffer is going to do here because, as I mentioned earlier, he's going to want positions, and he's been the bridesmaid all race for the most part. So I'm sure he knows this is his one opportunity to try and get something done. So he's ready to pounce if something goes wrong with Murphy and Forsythe's battle.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be very interesting. As I said, now Craig, this is the first time he's had control of the restart here, so now he's got to figure out what he wants to do. And then again, he's going to have to try to make sure that he can keep that thing clean. And again, also making the adjustments now where, okay, I'm on slightly used tires, so I've got to get these things warmed up real quick and get aggressive here as Craig's going to come out of four again. He's got full control, and he is down and away. 15 to go here at the line. Will Craig hang on to it, or will Mark Murphy get win number 3 of the season here?
Very clean restart. We have Eric Schaus ready to make some moves. He must have lost a little bit of ground along the way as well, probably to these guys on this alternate strategy. Actually, no, he is in 5th place. He just happens to have some lap cars in between him and who's ahead of him? Wagner there.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right, though. They've got Frank Irwin Jr. in front of him, and then in front of Frank is Jason Collins. And again, though, they can't just roll over because it's within 10 to go, then the lap cars move to the back. But yeah, Jason's got to fight here because he wants to stay ahead of Frank, because if there's yellow, then he gets that lap back. So he's got a lot to fight for. And yeah, so that's going to bring these guys into that mix here with Matt Wagner, with Eric Schaus. You got Edson Santos right there in the mix as well. Hugo starting to chase Jeff Heisong, apologies, as it looks like Eric's going to get the pass done. Yes, he will clear Matt there in 1 and 2.
That was a nice move.
Yeah, say he's got some confidence in the entry one. He can really just get it ripped down there. But now Matt's got the momentum, and we got Mason Mitchum. Looks like he's spun out of 2, but he's been able to tow off the track. As we're gonna maybe gonna go 3 wide, back to 2.
That was a very interesting.
Man, these guys are fighting. Look at Matt though. He's gonna try. Here we go. We will go 3 wide here.
And poor Edson's like, where do I go?
Yeah, Edson's playing nice, so he's not going to force it.
It's tight radius.
Oh, I don't know if there's contact or not, but Matt had a big bobble there.
That looked like it was a little bit scary. I think that was probably just Matt scared of what the angle, because the angle approach for Eric in the turn 3 was very sketchy.
Yeah, so we're watching this up front. It's still a couple tenths of a second. Oh, Edson, I think, just got to the back of Matt there. Matt had a bobble out of 2. Eric Schaus is very happy that he got out of this because these guys, oh my goodness, this is definitely just, yeah, just a full-out brawl right here as we've got 10 to go.
Yeah, it almost kind of resets your race. You're here for a 135-lap race, and next thing you know, you're only racing 15 of them. Edson just touched the wall there.
Yeah, everybody's just trying to find any. Oh man, look how loose Matt got out too there. They're fighting for any inch of clean air on the fronts of these cars.
Side still manages to hold the lead, and he's doing the same thing Eckert was doing, running away from the field. And now the lap times have come down even more. That probably has to do with the lack of fuel in the car at this point. They're all
24/7s. Yeah,
that's a whopper of a lap.
Oh, 3 wide here out of 2. Back to single file though. This is amazing fighting right now. I mean, look at this from Matt Wagner back to, I think that was Sam Cosner, Jim Herrick's right there. This is a dogfight right here. You got 5th to 9th right now, just all under a blanket. Any little bobble, actually 5th to 10th, I'm sorry. And then add Jim Herrick here, and just, there's the contact. Oh, Matt's in the wall. He's going to have to keep it pinned up there. He's going to try to keep it green. That's going to be a big source of frustration here. See if he's going to go to pit road, or he's going to try to limp it along. Nope, he's going to hit pit road here. And it felt like it was only a matter of time till the cork in the bottle on that one. Not sure if it's net code or not, but there's too much. Oh, Stouffer in the wall.
I was watching the pit, and I totally missed what happened there.
Yeah, I did too, but Stouffer went around, and caution is out. Oh, I think Stouffer and Schaus are battling for a position here.
I think it was Murphy, actually.
I think he might be worse. Stouffer. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I just saw the pass for position, so let's go back. Oh, and I think it's just a closing rate situation on this one. You're right, though. Stouffer was all over the gearbox of Mark Murphy here. And I wonder if maybe Stouffer was maybe thinking Murphy was going to go for the top line, or sorry, the bottom line, so he tried to stay top. We'll watch and see, but what you'll see here is it just gets into the back of him on the entry, and just at that point, he's just stuck up against the wall here, and I think, yeah, you can see the car just gets hooked into the wall, and there's nothing he can do, so that's where the caution comes out. We'll have to see if Mark Murphy's got any damage from that. But since we had that, we can also here, let's go back, watch this battle with Matt Wagner and Edson Santos again, so we saw that contact as well. I think it was right here. You can see Edson washes up. Oh yeah, there was contact where I was there, and that was, Edson washed up there. But again, going into it though, was that because of him trying to protect?
He got too much entry speed entering the corner. He's
watching Joe. Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. So
absolutely, that's what happened there.
Edson's looking at Joe in his left mirror there, and then I see Joe's got the nose in there, so he has to open up his wheel to make sure he gives room, and then in opening up the wheel there, that opens it up into Matt. And just unfortunately, Matt was kind of just wrong place, wrong time. You see, he catches the wall fairly decently too. So that's what put us under yellow. We are down to 5 to go. Unfortunately, it looks like that's night over for Chris Stouffer. I think big beneficiary of that is this man right here, Jason Collins. He's going to get his lap back here, and we will get a restart though on this one here. Andrew, say right now we're 5 to go. I would suspect we'll see Jason just go ahead and hit pit road. Might as well throw a set of tires on it. And then, see, maybe he can grab a few more spots before the end, maybe grab a top 10 out of this. So Mark Murphy is staying out, so no change there. So unfortunately, a couple incidents there at the very end. We saw the contact with the 20 and the 6, then the contact with the 69 and the 13. It's just it got dicey there, and we're going to have a 3-lap shootout. But basically, though, Andrew, if there's another yellow, at that point, this race will be over because there are no green-white checkers here on the Area 51 IndyCar Oval Series. So this is one of those ones you can't wait till the last lap. Any move you make, you got to make as soon as you got that opportunity here.
Well, we saw the aggression from that mid-pack there. It was almost a matter of time before something happened because they were nose to tail from, like you said, 4th on back. And slicing, dicing, over, under, kind of the fun stuff you like to watch from a spectator point of view. But in the car, you're just like get me away from these cars in any way you can, but you can't, because if you back off, you lose all the spots. If you try and go for it, you're going to find yourself trying to fight for clean air. So it's unfortunate. 3 laps is probably not going to be too much drama because the field will get a little bit spread out and the cars will take about 2 laps to wind up or so. And by then we'll have white flags. So let's see if there's any action here. But I think we're pretty much going to see the finishing order as it is unless someone really messes up the restart here.
Yeah, and Craig's hoping that somebody won't be him as he's going to get the field. He is down and away. Great little jump. We'll watch through the mid-pack as well. Make sure they all get underway here nice and clean. And it looks like
Branch.
Yep, everybody's nice and spread out. And yeah, you're right, though. Joe Branch is really tight on Eric here. Eric's not too far off Mark Murphy as well. But yeah, Craig's got just that little margin that he was definitely hoping for. But yeah, there's definitely some opportunities for spots here. See Sam Cosner there on Jeff Heisong a little further back there. DeGroot, Herrick, they're on top of each other here. But we've got 2 to go. Craig's got a little bit of margin to play with here. So he's probably breathing a little easier right now, but he's still got to make 2 clean laps here.
Here comes Edson on Joe Branch. Joe is still married to that bottom line there, and that's just giving you no exit speed out of 2. So Edson's right on the right rear of Joe, and I think Joe's going to keep it through 3 and 4. Edson's probably going to go for a dive here on the last lap.
Yeah, Joe's protecting the inside already. You can see now he moves back up, but we are 1 to go here. Craig's still our leader. Mark Murphy just under half a second back here, but Craig is keeping it clean. Got through the hardest turn, in my opinion, through the track. Now just has to keep it clean through 3 and 4, and he'll be able to bring home his first win of the season. And so as he comes through 4, it will be Craig Forsyth getting the win here tonight at Gateway over Mark Murphy. Eric Schaus there third, then Joe Branch, Ensign Santos rounding out our top 5. As easy Jeff Heisong is going to go for a little extra slide there as well. But really great job. And say Matt Wagner, last lap of the race, he actually puts down the fastest lap of the race, goes purple with a 24:50. Saying just maybe one of those ones, a little bit of frustration there at the end, but it's going to be this man right here, Craig Forsyth, though, getting the win tonight at Gateway.
Yeah, it was a very interesting race. I like that double strategy idea we had going. It was kind of hard to... We kind of broke it down in such a way that I think it was easy to see that some cars tried to go long there, and the long strategy didn't pay off this time, as Mark Murphy didn't get the lead back once he reset himself back on the track for the final stint there. And I think if it went green, Craig had that one by quite a long shot. So it was a good strategy effort, and I'm glad that we got to see 2 strategies that could have worked, and one of them just happened to be a little better.
Yeah, no, the strategies were very interesting here. So I think, I don't know, even though it's first one of the season, looks like Craig's been doing some practicing, so those donuts are looking pretty solid here.
They are very good. I don't think I could do that.
So he's just about to catch the inside wall. Oh, he parked it right at the right time. I think he knew it was coming, and so he's going to park it right in the middle of the donuts there. So while we watch that car, let's go ahead and pull up our final results before we get to those top 3 interviews, as it will be Craig Forsyth getting the win over Mark Murphy. That said, though, Mark continues his top 5 streak. 5 starts, 5 top 5s for Mark. Eric Schaus there third. Joe Branch, Ensign Santos are top 5. And then Jeff Heisong, Sam Cosner. I got to give a big shout to Sam there. I'm not sure if this was his first race or not, but he was really solid tonight in that top 5-10 battles all night. Hugo Galaz, Jim Herrick, Nick DeGroot, they're bringing home the top 10. Baron Glover, I think, didn't really get the result that showed what he had pace-wise. And then Eric Peterson, Joseph Morales, Jason Collins getting our lead lap finishes. And then, unfortunately, again, we talked about the incident that caught Matt Wagner out. Drops him all the way to 15th there. And then Frank Irwin Jr., Casey Putsky, and Rick Sanchez a couple laps down themselves. And then we get to the attrition side of things. You've got their Christopher at the end, 7 down with his contact with Mark Murphy. And then Mason Mitchum, Shane Coker, Raphael Ecker we saw with, unfortunately, his hardware issues. Bill Colley, Gary Laverne, and Nick Wheeler with the early retirements. So now we got to find some drivers to chat with. And we are going to start off with a certain Eric Schaus here once we hunt him down. There he is. So we're gonna bring Eric on over here with that Hot Wheels machine, bringing home in third, up 14 spots tonight. Eric, it was eventful. You're one of the few that kind of went off strategy early. You and Nick Groot, I think it was around lap number 9 was the last off sequence pit stop there. You also pitted in that first around lap 4. Was there some numbers there like this will work, or is it just like, hey, I want to do something different because I didn't like being mid pack, or what was at the start of the race? What was the mindset there for trying the strategies?
Yeah, it was such a poor qualifying position, and I noticed Nick was near me. I figured Nick knows what he's doing, so I'm just going to do what Nick does. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm curious when exactly you got around him after that lap in the 50s when you guys pit on 53, I think it was. I know you entered the pits behind him, but did you get him on track somewhere with the traffic?
I got him coming out of the pits. I had a slightly faster pit stop than him and was able to get him on the way out.
Yeah, I had noticed that at some point you were behind him and then suddenly you were ahead of him and also like 4 or 5 cars ahead of him. So I didn't know if it was a pass done on track just with a crafty way through traffic or if it was actually done in the pits. So that's good that you managed to outdo him in the pits there. He must have had some sort of issue.
Well, I mean, we also said that was actually we were on board, Eric, with you as you were following Nick into pit road, and I mentioned that maybe as a second car you can kind of judge your pace off of Nick's pit entry. Is that something like in that situation? Do you prefer following somebody into pit road, especially if it's somebody that you know and trust, to say, okay, they can do that. Maybe I can steal like another extra car length or two on him, because it definitely looked like you closed the gap on him on the entry to get to his rear wing there at the speed line.
Yeah, I think in that scenario, I was happy to be following him in, just not to make a mistake. We didn't really need to be super quick in the pits, but he was a little cautious going into the speed limit area. I had practiced that a couple times in practice, so I knew where I could be quick there and when to actually brake to hit the line on time. So it was a little slow going in, but it doesn't really cost us anything as long as we were getting through traffic on the way out of the pits, which we were. Yeah, then it's all right.
Well, I'll say that part worked out, and then at that point, then it's the strategy of those that pitted early, those that pitted late. I mean, how tense was it for you waiting for all these other guys to finish that pit stop cycle? Because that was the next part of it was, all right, like we know we can make it to the end, but we still got to wait these 20 laps I think before Craig and some of these other guys made their final stops. I mean, how tense was it for you? Just like, please don't crash, please don't crash.
Yeah, I hate it. Usually I'm on the other side of things. I'm usually the guy out waiting for everybody else to pit and make a mistake. So I don't love being on the other side of it, but I don't know. I started so far in the back, I really wasn't too stressed this race. I know I can be quick here, so I just planned on running my race, being consistent, not making 0.2 mistakes here and there, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm going to say 14 spots gained into a podium is a pretty solid result for you. So awesome job tonight, man. And definitely, of course, got to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that podium tonight.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Appreciate Area 51 and Dark Horse putting on this league. Thanks to the admins. We said to see Matt go at the end of the season as admin. And thanks to anybody out there watching.
All right, so I'll get you in trouble. I don't know if I'm guessing she's too busy, but definitely give Dr. Schaus some love on our end and the baby as well. Who's
Shout
better
out
be
to
asleep.
my wife and daughter.
Yeah,
thank you.
One's probably
Dr.
working and
Schaus.
one's better be asleep.
Yep.
Great job, Eric.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Andrew, we're going to jump one spot forward, and that is going to be the number 69 of Mark Murphy. And again, I'm looking at the stats here, Andrew, and it's 5 top 5s for Mark so far this season, 2 wins, and he's got and it's fitting, Mark, you got a 69-point lead over Matt Wagner after tonight's event. Is this one of those ones where you're happy to to get another podium and keep another top 5 going, or is this one of those ones where you feel like maybe kind of got away with you just with the way you and Craig kind of at the end were the ones trying to figure out, okay, the short pit strategy versus the running long strategy, just based on when you guys made your pit stops. And I say Andrew and I kind of noticed that it looked like kind of getting stuck. Maybe I don't know, stuck's the right word, but not being able to get around Jeff Heisong maybe cost you a little bit of time there. I mean, is that one of those ones where still a good result, or it's like, what could have been?
No, I mean, I'm ecstatic. I think when I stayed out, I was what, fifth on the road, and stayed out. I knew that strategy was going to have a little bit of luck. Um, but kind of doing the math out in my head, I'm like, well, everybody's still going to have two more stops from here, and they're only getting about 6 more gallons than I had at the time because I'd been saving from the drop of the green. So, it made sense to take the track position, and then, as long as you could make it a two stopper, you were still in pretty good shape. Thankfully the cartoon animal caution didn't come, and we run second. So, it's not one that got away. It's we did better than we should have probably. Hats off to Craig Forsyth. That's, anytime you're in the same discussion with Craig, you've done a good job. And, he played the strategy exactly right. I mean, traffic the traffic when I came out of the pits probably didn't help me. But there's, that's ifs and buts, right? I mean, there's nothing you can say about that. I mean, it's 20 some other guys on the track, and they have a right to it too. And, like I said, I'm happy to run second when it probably was a fourth to sixth place car.
So when you were, one thing I noticed tonight, that's a little different for Gateway was that I think the colder temperatures produce the ability to run kind of the middle of the track, and especially in 3 and 4, and still hold on to it. Whereas typically you're kind of on the outside there, you take the longer way around and everything like that, and you usually lose out. But I think there's a lot of grip out there tonight with the colder temperatures at night and everything. So did you find that it was easier to pass in turn 1 and 2, or do you think that turn 3 and 4 was where you were really trying to set up any passes? I know you weren't really passing much tonight except for when you come out of the pits, but how would you characterize the track conditions based on how your car was driving and how the setup was?
I thought it was absolutely awesome. I mean, all kudos go to Matt. He gave us something that wasn't tool dependent, but at the same time, there was a wide range of option in terms of what you did. You'd go all the way up on the rear bar. You could go all the way. You could leave it all the way down. You could run as much as 10 positive weight jacker if you wanted to. You could run some negative in 3 and 4 if you wanted to. It was just a matter of how you caught traffic and how you positioned your car. In terms of grip at the top lane in 3 and 4 isn't really usable. You want to be on the bottom there. But yeah, I mean, if it had been a little bit hotter, maybe them guys, would have stayed to the bottom. I like the high line through 1 and 2, but it's not for everybody. And maybe had it been warmer, maybe they would have been a little bit more bottom dependent. But at the same time, it's the same for everybody. And I thought it produced great racing. I mean, there were times it was pretty racy, even though it didn't seem like I was passing a lot of cars. But there were times it was pretty racy at the beginning. You could see guys making moves and setting up moves. It's just a hard place to pass anyway, though. That, Andrew. I mean, it's narrow, and there's not a lot of room to build those runs. And when guys figure out the high side, there's really no way to build one on them. You can throw it down in there, and we saw that happen with a couple of guys, and they came together over there. And I feel bad for Matty, but I thought it was pretty good for Gateway. I loved it that it changed, and what you ran at the beginning was not what you wanted to be on at the end for sure.
It seemed like, especially, I asked the question mostly because you mentioned that the top line isn't really favorable in 3 and 4, but there was a battle between Jim Herrick and Eric Peterson for a lot of that first green flag run there that Jim tried multiple times to get underneath him in 3 and 4 and just could not get the pass completed all the way around the corner. And Eric stayed up high and was able to hang there the whole time, multiple laps in a row. So it was interesting that was the case.
Yeah, you need to really let the car have its head coming off of turn 2. If you've got a guy on the outside and he's pinching you down, it just kills your momentum, and you've got to carry that. You've got to carry that lack of speed all the way off of 2, clear down to the same end of the track again, going into 1. And so you can trap a guy down there, and it kind of felt that way. I think I can't remember how I was trying to get by, but it was a lap car, and I was trying to get by him, and I kept tossing it down the inside because they had the high line. And I'm thinking, well, if I get there, he's a lap down, maybe he'll let me go. And that wasn't the case. And, you know, it's racing. It's what it is. And you can't be mad about it. But at the same time, I mean, the top line, if the guy can hold the top here, and it's the same in the daylight, it's the same fixed setup. You're going to see the same thing when IES comes here, really. You know, if you got a guy on the top that can hold somebody on the bottom, you know, it's kind of like Iowa where, you know, you can trap somebody on the bottom and just, it kills your momentum coming off the corner, and you got to use up your tires too. So, yeah, I mean, it's top line dominant, but that's nothing new.
So before we get to your thanks and shouts, I got to give some numbers here. I mean, I know it's only 5 races in, but in the 5 starts here, Mark, average start 2.6, average finish of 2.0. I mean, and again, top 5s in all of the races, and your worst of that is a 4th. Everyone else has been a 1st or 2nd. So it's been a really, really good start to the season, man. It's been super impressive. So definitely hope that you're able to keep those numbers up. Your competitors maybe not so much. But yeah, great job tonight and over the course of the season thus far. So, but yeah, I wanted to get those numbers out there because I was like, you've been up here a lot. It's like, yeah, it's impressive, man. So before we let you go though, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shout outs for that runner-up spot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lucky guy all the way around. You know, the first one's got to go out to my wife, Natalie. Thank you so much to her for putting up with my crazy obsessions and letting a iRacing rig sit in her living room. The kudos goes to her. You know, I got to thank everybody at Indy Alliance, Jesper, Seb, Chris, Matt, J, Thomas, Seb. I mean, those guys. This isn't my best run of the week. That was Sunday night at Indy, where, you know, we went road racing, and I'm not a very good road racer, and thankfully this series doesn't turn right. But I ran 14th in an Indy Elite Series race on a road course, and I was more stoked about that than I was winning any other race. That was a win to me, and so just thanks to those guys for everything they do. P1 Broadcasting, Black Magic Studios, Admin Box, all the people that support us. Just thanks to them, and you know, thanks to you guys, man. It's always fun to watch these back, and you know, maybe I get to, man, I'll be back in the booth. I think I'll be back in the booth. I don't know, next Monday, I think. So I get to swap chairs, but it's awesome to hear the work that you guys put in because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. And I got to catch some of your guys' broadcasts on the Dover race a little earlier. That track's wild, and it's terrifying to watch, much less drive on the Indy side of things, man. But no, I say you guys do awesome work over there, and definitely, I love to see you on the driving side of things because I still think you undersold your skills out here. So go enjoy this one, man. Yeah, go hang out with the missus before you get any more trouble, and look forward to seeing you on the track again soon.
Yeah, you got to stay in trouble, man. That way you know where you stand. But keep going fast and having fun, boys, and we'll see you next week. All right.
I want to hear more about this rig in the living room on your next interview.
Yes,
that's the first for me.
I'll send you a picture, man.
Yeah, we'll
I have to see this.
That sounds perfect. All right. Great job, Mark.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, that leaves us one driver left to chat with. And the timing is perfect because we get to watch as he rolls right back up to victory lane. Got to see it live, but Craig, you finally notched the win off your belts over the season. I know it's been one that you've probably been waiting to get. Jumps up 4 spots as well in the points, up to 4th now. But I'm guessing that last caution or so where you had that couple second lead was one of those, like, I really didn't want to have that right now.
No, absolutely not. Did not want that caution. It is Gateway, and it's hard to take the lead away from someone, especially when, you know, I had better tires than Mark behind me. So I was pretty confident that unless I really screwed up a corner badly, I was going to be able to hold the lead on what turned out to be both restarts. But yeah, no, I mean, I had some great pit stops. I jumped Chris on the previous pit stop, and then jumped Mark on the final pit stop, and it was like, holy cat, like, because I did not have their pace when they were ahead of me. They could just pull out time whenever they wanted to. Earlier in the race, they were pulling away from me, and there was nothing I could do. And so once, you know, just through luck in the pit cycle, and I mean, honestly, for the whole race tonight, based on when cautions came out, I mean, there were so many different people that could have won that race based on having the correct timing for a caution during the pit cycle. It worked out the most, I guess, the most traditional way, in that the cautions came out while we had the lead again. So a big improvement from last night, where we tried the undercut and got a caution and failed miserably at the undercut. So yeah, that was a good race from our perspective. I mean, it had too many cautions, but it was a fun race.
So one thing I'm curious about is you did kind of come in a little bit earlier than we expected you to for that final pit stop, and kind of how you mentioned with the frequency of the cautions during the race, you really put yourself in a position that, hey, in the next 11 or 12 laps or so, if a caution comes out, I'm a lap down and then my race is over. So why did you decide to come in early there? Was it just kind of a feel sort of thing? You're like, okay, well, I think it's about time to come in. Maybe I'll just roll the dice a little bit, because I'm pretty sure you could have gone another 10 or so laps before you came in. And were you nervous that the pit stops might have had an influence on a caution coming out or something like that?
It was a bit of a gamble. Like the pit stop where I jumped Chris, I'd matched fuel to tires, which meant I was about 6 laps short of being a full tank, which I was good with, because we got 49 liters matches fuel to tires, and we had 56-liter tanks. So that's how I'd matched that one. And that meant that my final stop was also going to be another fuel match to tires stop. But yeah, it was only going to be 7 or so laps that I figured I'd be in the danger zone. And I was, at that point I was willing to risk it, because there weren't that many cars that were going to be ahead of us. So it wasn't like, there were going to be 8 cars all, if a caution came out, we'd end up being 9th or something, having to charge back through. We'd still end up, I figured, around 4th or 5th. So based on that, at the point where I jumped Chris, I basically had committed that my final stop was also going to be a bit earlier stop, just because I was matched. I wasn't running. I hadn't filled up a full tank, so I wasn't going to be running it to the end.
And that makes, saying that, it makes exact sense there, Andrew, because I think I was surprised too. It was like, wait, that seems earlier than I expected, because of the whole not wanting to pit early, just in the risk of a yellow and all that. But yeah, if you're running the numbers to make sure you're not waiting on fuel, knowing that you can then do the next stop. So yeah, a lot of strategy there, even where it's not
That's
like,
just forward thinking.
Yeah, no, exactly. So now it's stuff that I would never think about, and I would never know the numbers to be like, oh, okay, this many gallons will match the tires and all that. So I mean,
well, I think I was so fast that Mark asked me during one of the cautions if I'd actually taken tires or not. So that felt good.
We were keeping an eye on it for some drivers too, to see if those cars popped up during the pit stops or not, because we did contemplate, well, if it's a small tank, maybe fuel only. So before we let you go on that one, how was the tire wear on the full green fuel runs?
Tire wear was fine. Tire temperatures were fine. Technically, I think you could have not taken tires if you wanted to be brave. It was still, I think 91, 92 were the right side tire percentages after a full run. It's just that you were down a couple tenths, and I wouldn't want to know if it kept wearing for another 45 lap stint. I wouldn't want to be in the car at that point. I don't think. It'd probably be half a second slower.
Yeah, and I mean, with these cars, what a half second will do. So no, it's definitely a great job, Craig, all the way around, like I said. And the thing is, I mean, this is probably one of the more difficult pit roads to get onto. Such a small window to aim for the entry, and then having to be so just gentle on the throttle on the exit as well. So, I mean, you did all the strategy. You got the pit entries, the pit exits. I mean, you had to have a pretty much a full-on race.
I don't know what it is about this track. I'm just really good at pit entry and pit exit at this track. I can make up time on most people at this track just through the pit cycle, as long as it stays green.
I've seen you hustle in the pit road. I couldn't, even at other tracks, I don't think I can match what you do. So, I mean, it shows that the hard work and the time practicing and all that's been paying off. And yeah, it was an awesome job tonight, Craig. And before we let you go and celebrate, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that win tonight.
No, I thank Jim and Chris at 40. I mean, it's unfortunate how Chris's race got ended. He was disgruntled about that. We were going to have a good, podium finish there. So unfortunate, but I mean, Mark got the second, Shouse in third, and then Jim over at 40 Racewear, you guys over at Green White Checker. And thank you both, you Gael and Andrew, for doing the broadcast for us. And it's good to get a win under the belt this season. So that's one thing I always like to do, and is get at least a win in the season. So you get that out of the way. It feels good.
I'll go enjoy this one, Craig, and then maybe start racking up some more over the course of the season. Still got plenty of time to go, man. So, but go enjoy this one.
Yeah, thanks. You guys stay safe. Enjoy your night.
Take care, Craig. Thanks.
All right, Andrew, that is our winner in that number 99, Craig Forsyth, and it did feel like it was one of those ones where it was going to be, in my mind, just kind of a matter of time for him to get a win, because he's one that's always in the hunt for it. And that said, though, I mean, it's hard right now because you've got a Mark Murphy right now that's just been really good this season, and so it's just going to make these guys have to step up their game. I think that little extra. So I mean, right now Mark Murphy's got the 2 wins, Raphael Eckert, Christopher, now Craig Forsyth. So there's still some of our big name regulars. I mean, you expect to see Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot get in the win column here. I think Eric Schaus as well. I mean, honestly, you go through the top 15, top 20 of the points, like, actually any of these guys can win a race. Just they got to make sure that they kind of are in contention at the end, and that's when it can happen. So, I say right now, Mark's the guy to beat, it seems like, at the moment. Like I said, with the 5 top 5s and 4 of them being first and second places. I mean, those are some pretty stout numbers.
He's putting up some Nick DeGroot-like numbers from Nick DeGroot of seasons past. So I know Nick is kind of hit or miss these days, so running for a championship is not necessarily what's on his mind, but Mark is kind of taking the mantle from what Nick can do. And then we have other drivers like Henry Bennett that used to run numbers like that. Even myself, I'll throw my name out there into the mix too. I was going for a championship at one point back in the day before I hung it up and decided to come in the booth with you, but regardless, it's still fun to watch these guys do really well and kind of watch some unexpected names show up at the front of the grid there week after week and manage to avoid trouble, which is something that someone like Wagner is unfortunately fell victim to last season and tonight as well in that case. So it's going to be a great season, and I'm looking forward to seeing, as we get into these more different types of tracks that we race at, who can really rise up to the top and get a good run going for this championship. Yeah,
I'm really excited to see how the rest of it goes. It's gonna be interesting. I said there's gonna be a lot more challenges coming up. I mean, so next week, or off next week, I should say, for the 14th, we will be back again on the 21st, and that's gonna be at Las Vegas. So one of the big 1.5 milers, and that one I'm gonna be interested to see how it goes, because it's the 1 and 2 to me is, in the bottom line, very bumpy, very abrasive. So do you run the shorter route and hit the bumps? Do you go higher and avoid the bumps? So it's going to be kind of that mix and choose to figure out what you want to do. And then we get to Iowa, definitely with the short track of the season there on the 28th. And then one more week off until you hit the big one at Indianapolis on February 11th. So it's going to be a lot of fun racing coming up here shortly. And Andrew, I say it's always a pleasure doing this with you. It's a lot of fun. I say part of me wants to get you back behind the wheel and show off what you can do, and part of me wants to keep it to myself because I really enjoy doing these with you, man. But I really appreciate all the time and effort you do on these, because it's a lot of fun getting your extra insight that I don't usually have.
It's definitely a change of pace, but I really do enjoy watching the racing and talking about it and kind of giving some insight of what I predict might happen. And that's kind of what this is all about. So it's good to be here as well.
All right, well, as always, thank you, sir. And everybody that watches and supports us here at Green White Checker TV, thank you all so much for being a part of it. Like I said, as always, feel free to chime in and chat. Let us know if you want us to focus on anybody who you're rooting for. We'd love to give them some extra love as well. Until then, we'll be off again next week, back in 2 weeks' time, though, at Las Vegas. And as always, until then, take care, stay safe, and have a good night.